I'm hoping we don't get sucked into
Can you just like get a normal
rabbit hole.
whatever Marriott?
Downtown Atlanta.
David, he's ready.
But like
All right. Welcome everybody. Thanks for your patience for those waiting online. And we're going to go ahead and start with a couple of work sessions. First up today, we have the Green Team doing their work plan presentation. And before we get started with that, Joe, just a quick reminder, if you want to join via Zoom, you can just go on to basalt.net and you can click on the August 27th meeting packet. That's under the agendas and minutes tab, and then you'll see instructions for joining via Zoom there. But without further ado, I will turn it over to Michelle, and I don't know if Sarah's here or not, but at least Michelle.
Yeah, unfortunately Sarah's not here today, but I do have Green Team member Doug Goldsmith with me, which is awesome. He's a longtime member of the Green Team, so glad to have him here. We're going to roll through the 2024 accomplishments of the Green Team and the 2025 work plan. So, a quick recap here. Your members of the Green Team this year are Charlie Eckert, Mike Steiner, Eileen Fagan, Sean Satterfield, and Doug Goldsmith, who is here. We have 2 open seats on the Green Team that we're looking to fill. The categories for the Green Team that the work plan is based on are strategic plan categories, and that's the built environment, tracking goals, transportation, and public education. So we're going to roll through these 4 categories kind of quick here. Public education, we're doing that through events. Events including things like Earth Day, which we had our first Earth Day celebration on April 22nd, which was great. Our residential composting survey, we're about to roll out a centralized community composting location here, hopefully before the end of the year. Staff is working through the details on that, but basically the short story is that's likely to be on the Umbrella Roofing Company property, now town-owned property. So we'll circle back with the details on that. But we did a survey through the Green Team on what people needed to help do community composting, because that's a big goal in the town. And a lot of the feedback we got was that we don't need to subsidize individual residents composting, but having a centralized location would hit all of Basalt and be more productive. So interesting stats. We'll be rolling out the information on that to come.
And that came out of the survey?
That came out of the survey, and yeah, and the companies that we work with is some feedback. We're able to monitor who's, not the individual households, but how many households in general in Basalt are individually composting. Mm-hmm. And the bang for the buck is to do a centralized location rather than everyone else. We actually have a pretty good rate of individual composting here. So we're looking at doing a program that may include some grants for multifamily residents to have some infrastructure build, whether it's a shed or basically just a concrete platform to place a composting dumpster on, some of these things to help make it a little easier that HOAs are struggling through in multifamily buildings. So
we're also looking at the success of the Aspen drop location.
Which, Aspen what?
And they have a drop location.
Oh, okay.
So in the Rio Grande Park in Aspen, they have a shed. You get a code after you take the quiz, and then you can go dump your compost in there. It is incredibly successful. They've gone from 1 container to, I think, 6 or 8 in there, and we're going to kind of replicate that. By the time we get some knowledge about how that's going, we'll either figure out where to locate it again once that umbrella property gets developed, or relocate it somewhere else, or adapt our program as times change. But we have some progress there.
what is, if you know, what is the rate of composting?
I don't have a cool stat for that. It's good though. It was better than we thought.
Anecdotally, 15% of the households. Depends on the community. There seems to be a lot of, you don't want to be the only one on the block not doing it.
Yeah.
So, and that tends to build
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah, you seem to see buckets, like multiple buckets around a certain cluster of houses, and maybe it spreads like that.
Yes.
Sean, if you want to slide up.
Yeah, come on up.
Go for it.
Oh, you're good. Sean Satterfield, one of our other Green Team members. So moving on from there, of course, we had our community recycling event on June 29th, which was huge. And I'm sorry Sarah's not here because she does have the cool stats on how much of everything got recycled, but there was a lot of e-waste this year. There always is, but there was an exceptional amount this year, which was really exciting to capture that. And then this fall, of course, we'll have the leaf drop in yard composting event. One other event that'll come up on a future slide is the Bike to Work Day that we had. So, speaking of Bike to Work Day, the Green Team in the town have a lot of shared values with the League of American Bicyclists. And we just think that they're kind of their moniker here. Life is better life is better for everyone when more people ride bikes. More people are happier, healthier, our communities are safer and friendlier, and our planet is greener. So there's a lot of momentum here to keep improving bike infrastructure, making bikes more accessible, and all of those sorts of things. So we're implementing these values in the Willets Lane Connectivity and Wayfinding Plan, where that plan is to encourage multimodal transportation, elevating safety and the experience of bikes and peds. And of course, it'll be reducing some vehicle traffic and related emissions. Ultimately, in 2025, we're hoping to become a bike-friendly certified community, which is sort of a big deal. That'll be a lot more bike infrastructure throughout all sides of town, but we're kind of starting it on in the Willets Lane area. And as you all know, we recently completed several open houses for community input on the Willets Lane plan. And actually, tomorrow afternoon, all of our citizen boards, as stakeholders from their different perspectives, are having one more go at the two alternatives right now. So we're far from a final plan, but we're making a lot of progress. So where we are exactly on that plan is we're finishing kind of round 2 of engagement, and then we'll get to a preferred concept here in this fall. And then what we're looking to do, we'll bring that back to you guys, of course, so you can see that. And then in 25, we'll be looking for the opportunity to do some temporary installations, similar to what we've done over by 7-Eleven. So we can kind of test it out, see how it feels, if we like it, if it's working, making a difference. And then we'll need to go out and get construction documents and make it happen. That's, off in the near far future, but certainly not next year for construction. So one project at a time. Transportation, here comes some fun stats. So for e-bike rebates, I haven't updated this, but when I last gave this presentation, we had over 38 e-bike rebate applications in. That's like a 500% increase over last year. So finally we got some momentum there, which is exciting. And we also had a number of low-income rebates where they got the additional $250. So you have the state tax credit of $450, $500 from the town of Basalt, and then an additional $250 from the state grant that we got. So hopefully that's helping a lot of people get on bikes for some trips. We had our first annual Bike to Work Day. We had stations in Willets and over here in the River Park. Sarah, Mitzi, and Scott hosted those locations, and they were largely successful. We were lucky to have a lot of partners in that: AVSC, Mountain Flow, Core, Aspen Ski Co., I guess I should say Aspen One, Basalt Printing, Basalt Regional Library, and WeCycle. It was huge. And those events are a way, of course, for community awareness about alternative modes of transportation, but also for the town to present our values in a public-facing event regarding the environment. Okay, here's some of the cool stats. I picked May because that's before all the tourists go into Aspen. So being competitive, I like the fact that Mid-Valley is Basalt and Elgibel. And we had the most trips in May, the most rides on WeCycle, so we won the competition that's only happening in my head, but we did it. But it's kind of huge. It goes to show, because this Mid-Valley is the smallest population of all of the areas that have WeCycle, and the fact that it's getting used to that extent is ginormous. WeCycle creates these lovely monthly reports, and so they estimate the carbon offsets, basically being around 7,000 pounds of CO2 a month. And if you were to put that in a year, which we don't ride bikes all year here, but it's increasing, that's over 80,000 pounds of CO2 just from people riding their bike, riding a WeCycle from there to the BRT or wherever they're going. So it's just really exciting, and those stations just continue to increase in usage, which we're really proud of. Basalt Connect, they do these great graphics. This is a heat map that they produce. And I think this one might be, they do one for pickups and they do a different heat map for drop-offs. They're very similar. The red zones are where there are the most, the most requested destination. And so you can see, places you might assume would be where the grocery stores are, downtown, historic Midland Ave. And this is from July, because I did have someone say, how come the high school's not lit up there? But it's in July when school's not in session. So just a fun little note. Ridership here throughout the summer, getting over 2,000 rides through the month. And one of my favorite little stats on this report from July is on July 6th, which was River Jams. We had 224 rides, so it was doing the thing. The community was doing the thing. They were riding Basalt Connect to the park, to the concert, taking alternative transit to get there, and it served its job. So it's just a super cool thing that's happening. Oh, I skipped that one. Yep. Other things we're doing, built environment. As you guys know, we adopted the 2021 IECC. We have lots of new construction that's underneath that code going to electric ready. Town facilities and our master plan are charged with moving forward and becoming more energy efficient. We had a core grant to install heat pumps in the Stotts Mill daycare, so that was huge. Both Town Hall and the Planning Department buildings are using heat pumps now as well. And the pool got a core grant to update heating in the locker rooms to be on heat pumps, so we're really kind of moving everything along.
Are you guys keeping track of kind of like what's the state of play on heat pumps and which ones are available here? And 'cause I know there's different ones supposedly overseas and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we are, and some of it's by default. There's a limited workforce that knows how to do the things, and so a little bit of it is that you get what is available and who knows how to install which things. And some of it's a painful learning process because some certainly work better than others. But
That's what I've heard.
yeah, it's okay. We keep pressing the envelope, and technology will catch up. So, looking forward into 2025, the 2025 plan is based on action items from the 2020 Basalt Master Plan. A lot of these things are just kind of ongoing things that are happening in the background all the time. Advocating for clean energy, the town is an active member of CC4CA, engaging in regional, state, and national advocacy, enforcement and development of policy and code. We've done that. And boosting municipal energy. We just talked about the facilities. Engaging the community through outreach and education. We also have a Green Team newsletter that's going out now. It started with a pretty tiny subscription of like 25 people, and now we're up to, I think, 250. So the word's getting out there. And then these kind of annual progress reports.
Where do you sign up for that?
On the town website.
On the Green Team page?
Green Team, that's right. And if you have happened to sign up for the Midland updates, you have an opportunity on that page to sign up as well. So we're reaching out. Good question. So Too many pages. That's fun. Oh, I can't read it because I don't have my glasses. So look over here.
It's tough with glasses.
So the Green Team, we're going to be working on pursuing a partnership with CORE on a building IQ program. And so that's for buildings of multifamily residence and commercial-sized buildings to monitor utility bills and utility usage, and then to come back and make recommendations on how to become more efficient and what systems they can upgrade with to be there. This program exists in Aspen, and it's modeled actually after an EPA program. So there's a whole framework that's there. It's kind of plug and play, and by letting our neighbor up valley start it, all of the framework has been created, so it's a much smaller lift for us here. But that'll really help in incentivizing everybody and then rewarding the businesses that are already doing a lot of the great things to be there. We're also going to be pursuing a wildfire mitigation project. More to come on that. There'll be a presentation to council on all of those details in September. But that's important to our environmental work. We started early on talking about the community composting plan, but once we get that facility situated, we're going to really throw down and do a huge marketing and outreach on the availability of that. So excited about that. Collaborating with CORE to modify multifamily mechanical systems. That's a big task that CORE wants to take on, and we want to support that. Focusing on these multifamily buildings that may be rentals or some components, so just kind of making that actually viable. And continuing, of course, the things we're already doing, recycling events, yard waste events, all of the outreach events we did last year. And then investigating some of these things, a strategic work plan and budget to provide Basalt Connect service within Basalt and possibly out into our 3-mile planning radius. There's some discussion about that at the RAFTA level. That is certainly going to take a partnership with all the entities involved to move forward. And
Who are you
providing...
working with on that as far as...
Yeah, right now it's just a nice conversation.
Okay.
There's some discussion at RAFTA about expanding Basalt Connect and having a regional program throughout the valley. And that'll be something that would have to go through EOTC, elected officials on the Transportation Committee. But certainly we would speak directly to Picken County and Eagle. So more to come on that. That's right now just a concept.
Aspirational.
Aspirational, yes. And then providing new water meters and a new water rate structure to encourage conservation. As you've sat through some other meetings with Catherine at the helm, she's pursued a water master plan for town. This would primarily be focused on this side of town, which is on the town of Basalt water system. But that's something to come in the future as well. A couple things that didn't make it onto the slide, which we're kind of sussing out, are pursuing the possibility for a single waste hauler to reduce truck traffic with multiple haulers throughout town. There's a lot of details in that and a lot of lessons to be learned from other communities that have done it. So that's something we need to do a deep dive into. And then also pursuing this green halo construction waste concept, where we know that the Picken County landfill has a construction waste program, but we know that a lot of contractors are determined not to go there and instead go to South Canyon, where they don't have a construction waste program. So figuring out if there's a way we can influence that somehow. Did I say that right? And that's it. That's all.
That's all? Just all that.
That's all. Happy to take your questions.
How many people filled out that compost survey? That you were saying that people are focused more on one area. Like, I just worry that if we're targeting then just like it sounded, my phone was cutting in and out, I'm sorry, late. But it sounded like we were focusing on like the multifamily residential places, where I know like other people too, like above my neighborhood, they can't get it either. So I just I don't wanna leave some people out and just focus on one.
On survey respondents only.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how many total people responded to the survey?
Sure. So we had the survey open for 3 months because it was a slow response rate. And we had about 100 responses. So where we're starting is we're starting with the centrally located composting facility for anybody, anywhere.
Okay.
And we're going to monitor that, see how well that works.
Like centrally where?
I'm calling it the umbrella roofing property. It's literally in the center, but that's
Yeah.
town-owned property. And that's a place where we can have there's vehicle circulation that works. We're gonna monitor that for a year and see if it's successful and then figure out a pivot.
Is there any way we could just budget in for anyone to try it for 3 months? Just like, because,
For Evergreen or.
yeah, because it's, to load up your compost into your car, even if you're in Willits or even from here, no one wants to do that. It's gross. And so like, breaking down every barrier, you want a bucket, you get a bucket for 3 months, and then you're signed up and you're,
Yeah,
kind of like those free trials on the internet. Here's a free trial for 3 months, you put your credit card in, you won't be charged for another 3 months or 6 months, and then we go from there.
yeah. We talked about that quite a bit. We talked about whether that was the best use of money, where to start there. The feedback that we got from the survey and from the providers is that that's not where the biggest bang for the buck is. So you might capture a handful of people, but the people who are already doing it. But it could be something where if you can't get service in your neighborhood, there's a possibility there. Anything you want to add to that?
What neighborhoods aren't getting service?
Oh, I just know like Ridge Road above me, but that's one.
That was
It's like a
like,
micro.
maybe that's the
They
question,
won't know
is
that.
to
No,
approach
I
them
don't
being
know.
like,
I
hey,
don't know.
what, because, if you look at Evergreen Zero Waste's internet site, at the bottom, they have $3 extra if you're in Woody Creek or Aspen. So I'm sure they're making some sort of concessions, and they maybe just don't have any interest on it, so therefore there is no service.
Yeah. Overall, what we heard was that generally on this side of town and on Willits, there's a lot of composting at the single-family residence. I mean, it's not 100%, but there's a lot. And so by having this kind of centralized location, which, there's a centralized location in Aspen at the Rio Grande Park. That's not near any houses really either. It is hugely successful.
But part of the hope
But
is
it's a
also to
pilot,
get people
yeah.
to try it, and they go, you know what, driving over there is a pain, I'll just get it at my house.
Yeah.
Let them experience it as a free cost, get them there, give it a try.
Sorry, I've just been pitching this for 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been banging the compost drum. So I'm happy to see it. I just think there's,
And the other
Yeah.
advantage to that drop box is you almost get zero contamination, because nobody's gonna drive their trash over there. So it keeps it,
we hope.
we hope. And we find that you make it the most difficult thing to get to, keeps your contamination down, because they're gonna pass a bunch of places to dump their trash on the way there. So these are people with buy-in and give it a try. The hope is that they'll do it at their home.
Are there limitations on use? Like, can you dump yard
Yard
waste and,
No yard waste right now.
Okay.
No.
just like evergreen-sized buckets of home food waste?
Yeah. So, and it is going to be a pilot program. If it doesn't work for Basalt, we'll pivot and we'll look at doing something else. It's a kind of a low-risk item for us financially right now, so that's part of it as well.
So would you use like a trail counter or something like that to measure cars coming in and out? Like what would we, because you'd want to get some metrics during that pilot program.
Yeah, I think the metrics that have been used up Valley are seeing how full the containers get. So the containers,
Certain amount of time.
it's basically a shed that has household-sized dumpsters in it. So you start with 1 or 2, and then you see how those are going, and then you add more as needed. And that kind of gives you a sense weekly of how much is happening.
I think it'd be good to know trips though, too. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it can't be that hard to do with,
yeah, I'm sure we could figure that out.
you know.
Something on the door that says how many times the door got opened.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
ways to easily count that,
Yeah.
I think.
Is there any legislation to encourage commercial composting at restaurants?
Not at the state level that I'm aware of.
And like locally, like I know Aspen, restaurants in Aspen now have to start composting.
Oh, right. We don't have that.
Well, they have,
But we could in the future. I think we talked about that quite a bit, actually. And we felt like it would make sense to start at this kind of more manageable level.
Yeah.
And then
totally.
once the whole community was in, it would be easier to have that support kind of generated already to kind of push into the commercial.
they require bear-proof dumpsters for demo and bear-proof dumpsters for food on job sites up there.
Yes.
And I don't think that's a bad program at all,
Yeah,
because the amount of food generated on a 80-person employee site, is huge. And that's easy to do. Not easy, but
yeah.
takes care of a lot of it. I got a couple.
Yeah, go for
What
it.
else has done anything? This came up, I was out here for a couple weeks, but I read an article in the Daily News about the modification of MEP systems on multifamily homes and the difficulty of finding trained people to work between the mechanical, the electrical, and the plumbing to set up the technology and understand how the systems connect to give the homeowner an overall program that they can click on, whether it's a smart meter or whatever it is. And so there's sort of a educational component here that I've been thinking about of either connecting with CMC or someone possibly to start to train people that are already electricians or already plumbers to understand how to set up the actual technology in a home. And there's a couple of my buddies, one is Paragon and another one is just a startup. And they're slammed. They have no capacity for any more work. And I think that's one of those black holes that maybe the Green Team can look at is on the education side, is building some sort of apprenticeship type approach to where a high school kid or somebody doesn't want to go to college, it's already technically savvy, right? Probably 10 times better than most people. Get into some of these systems that are home security, the total home systems that you see in the high-end stuff, and then the conversion from, existing systems is another one that's you can't find talent. The other comment was we're a rural area, and this is just as important in a rural area as it is in a city. One other quick one was, there was a presentation down at the Painted Pig a while ago in Carbondale that had Jackie Francis and Brad Stevenson and one other person at it about climate change and about the startup businesses in climate change industries, just basic small businesses that are entrepreneurs. And they talked about the capital requirement, the insurance requirement, and the banking requirements. And where they're experiencing problems is in the insurance and in the banking sector. So they were trying to figure out a formula for moving forward with a startup company, like a technology company that could go in and build these household multifamily systems. They can get the capital initially to start up, but they can't get insured because there's too much risk. And then they can't get banking because they can't get the insurance. So that was the topic of the whole hour-long discussion. And there's a guy in Snowmass that was there that was focused on this pretty full-time. It was pretty interesting because it's another opportunity to attract an economy here that's clean and you have a lot of demand for. So there's a couple things I was throw out there.
One of the things I'd just add is Northwest Cog has started a program where they're focusing on trying to get industry caught up with the demand and training, and so I would be remiss to say exactly who they're working with, but there's some wheels in motion to kind of help that along.
Yeah,
So I think that's good news.
Okay, well, I'm supposed to be going to those meetings, so I guess I better go. Yeah, and the other one that I really think is important is fire mitigation, and also looking at the riparian areas too, because those are conduits, I guess, these days. California
We'll bring
especially.
that back to you guys September 10th and rolling out a public meeting September 30th with the idea that next year we'd be doing a pretty significant project up in the Hill District.
You know,
That's good to hear our Northwest COGS does. I think that's training and enablement for people to do this work is probably the rate limiting factor right now.
we've been trying to connect, but I think I finally did, so,
With Northwest Cog?
yeah.
Yeah, this should have, I
Yeah,
followed up after we talked about that.
well, that's good to know.
Well, thank you. Appreciate all the work, all the time, and all the ideas.
Thank you.
Another year. All right, next up, we have Post.
All right,
You don't have to
thank
go anywhere,
you.
just stay right there.
Here we go.
Anybody online from Post? We want to recognize
Yeah, I
here.
think I might see Mercedes Brown there, which is
She
awesome.
was there. She had to drop off, I think. So,
It's okay, she still gets to get recognized.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna do the same thing here. Not as many awesome stats, but lots of awesome projects for Post. Your Post members are Jason Groves, Julie Kolar, Paul Hiltz, Leah Bonilla, Mercedes Brown, and Simi Hamilton. We have one open space there. So we're going to start with the 2024 accomplishments, which are in these four categories: parks, trails, partnerships, and maintenance. The Parks, Open Space, and Trails, or Post Commission, is based off of some basic goals outlined in the 2020 Master Plan, balancing the natural and recreational attractions of the area with accommodation for a diverse spectrum of residents, workers, and visitors. So, on the next one, so 2024 accomplishments, starting with parks. As you guys are aware, Albany Park is under construction. The playground is on its way. We're really excited about this. We just got notice today that the structure has cleared customs through England and has arrived, or cleared customs from, it's been transported from England, cleared customs into the U.S. and is in transit on its way to Little Basalt, Colorado, which does mean that the parking lot in Albany Park is going to be closed for the rest of September while we're putting this thing together and in place. But looking for a late September grand opening and party over there, which is going to be amazing. That will be our first ADA accessible park in this town. We're super stoked about that. Besides beautiful and very basalty. Trails, I think we've all talked about this a few times, but just for anyone in the audience who's not familiar, the Confluence Park and intersection improvements is one of the trail connections, kind of adopting that plan and putting some temporary installations in place has been really exciting and well received. We are moving forward with getting that plan into schematic design documents so we can get the full project budget bid out for construction and construction documents, with some improvements potentially happening in 2025, but the overall bigger project might be later, late 25, in it rolling into 26. So that's been fun. Another plan is the Willits Lane Connectivity and Wayfinding Plan. On the right here, you see kind of a draft of the wayfinding signage that Post and a stakeholder group has been working through. Colors that reflect our new logo and kind of branding, if you will. things to connect, and we're kind of being strategic about what's going to go where and how that's going to help. One of the critical things, a couple things that the wayfinding is going to do for us is really make that visual connection as well as literal connection from point to point from Willits into this side of town. So people realize this is all one municipality and don't think that Willits is some other entity from historic town. And then also just encouraging people who may not know which trails connect to which side of town, where to go, how long it takes to get there, how to get there, what the modes are. The plan, as we talked about earlier, I guess that's on the next slide. Host and the Green Team are sharing these goals, so I won't reiterate it too much, but really encouraging and making alternative transportation easier and safer and more inviting is just a huge goal that we're all working towards. Partnerships, continuing to partner with Roaring Fork Outdoor Volunteers. They have been an excellent partner for the town of Basalt and of course the Valley. Here's a short list of some of the projects they've helped the town with. Cottonwood, maybe I don't even know what that one is, but Ponderosa Trail, Riverbank rebuilding, helping fill sandbags when the river was so high earlier this year. Tree planting on East Valley Road. They're going to be helping us with our demonstration plot for the fire mitigation plan that you'll hear about at one of your September meetings. And lots of smaller projects that were afternoon projects or whatnot, such as some brush clearing and helping us with things like Sunset Park and those sorts of things. So we appreciate them very much and look forward to continuing to work with them.
Michelle, the Grove is what Chris refers to as that location that's just west of the Basalt roundabout. There's a bunch of cottonwoods there. He's put a bunch of bulbs down into the ground and done some additional plantings. They blocked it off because we often had like semis just pulling in there and mucking it up. So anyway, that's all.
Thank you. That makes sense. There's so
I
much
noticed some
going
of the
on.
little trees in there.
Yeah, it's cool.
Nice little improvement. Post has also found places where there's opportunities to make great improvements. So the picture on the top here are the entryways to the irrigation vault in Triangle Park near the fountain. And hopefully you haven't really noticed them, but people do. They're a bummer. We have temporary material on the top of them so that if anyone touches them with their bare little feet, they don't get singed or hot on there. So we have an opportunity here. We need to do some improvements to that irrigation vault anyway. And the bottom picture is an example. It's not the design for this one, but it's an example of an alpine demonstration garden with low drought-tolerant plantings that are appropriate for the area. So we have a pretty cool design there, and it will kind of encompass the edge of the fountain, if you will, and create some more seating and improve the splash pad surroundings. So excited to have that go under construction next year. And then in the background, for the last 12 months, we have been pursuing a financial sustainability and maintenance management strategy plan. So this has been 12 months of collecting financial data to accurately understand the cost of maintaining and improving our assets and our staffing. We are a small but mighty staff with a lot of contracts out there. And for the long range and helping Post determine what our next 5 or 10 years are for investments, we wanted to really get a grasp on what are we liable for now, what are our financial risks, what is coming up to the end of its life, and kind of making a plan that way. So we've just gotten that plan back, and we'll kind of be working through that and developing a new Post capital master plan for 2025. So more details to come on that, but we're excited to have some real hard data to go forward from. And so here we are at the 2025 work plan. For parks, we're looking at working on the Cliffs Hillside Playground. That's on Homestead Drive. It's just a cute little playground up there, but it is ready for replacement. Implementing, Post has had a park signage plan approved for some time, but not the capacity to fabricate it or have it installed. So we'll be pursuing that in partnership with the wayfinding signage in 2025. Those things go together. Designing and implementing a plan for Parcel E in the River Park, and that is currently where the construction fencing and Stutzman is staging for the Midland project right now. They'll be off that property in 2025, and so we'll be looking to do a temporary installation of something there. Could be mini golf, could be something else, but. Yeah.
There were those 70-foot separations too between the flea market. There's a couple of corridors that were in the plan that were supposed to be sort of nice entrances, emergency access, utility easements, things like that. But are they still, I mean, I know the 3,000 square foot you were talking about, I think. And to the right of that is that 70-foot corridor.
Mhm.
Another one, so over there, I thought there was.
So they're all built out, so this lot is its own property.
Right.
Yeah.
Those
You're
corridors.
you're talking about what would they call the alley?
The alley, I
Yeah.
forget what, there was a fancier name for it, but I can't remember what it was.
Well,
It's supposed to be a gathering place, access.
Yeah, so I think that the art alley exists over there. It's concrete, it's a stamped concrete, and you can walk on it today, and you walk right by the design workshop windows into the park.
and it'll be, there's a funding source through that HOA.
Right.
And so we will be, over time, fleshing that out with
Okay. Because we talked
stuff,
tables,
art or-
umbrellas, to all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
We'll be looking to, and that's part of what complements what Michelle is sharing here, is kind of activating that space over there.
And then potentially some renovations to the Albany Park restroom. We're not looking for a wholesale deal there, but when we have a new pool facility and a new playground, they're probably ready for a refresh of some level there. And then on trails, we've talked about the Confluence Park and intersection. We've talked about the Willits Lane connectivity plan. We've talked about fabricating and installing the wayfinding signage once that's finalized. And the Mid-Valley Center Trail connection has come back. There's a lot to work on there, but we're gonna see if we can make some progress there as things are continuing to develop in that area. Partnerships will continue to collaborate with Roaring Fork Outdoor Volunteers, Mid-Valley Trails Commission, Piggin County, CPW, BLM, and all the good players. And then maintenance, we just talked about the Triangle Park project, which will be really exciting. But also, we have kind of a part 2 of restoration to the Albany Park kilns for historic preservation, and to the historic barn that's in Albany Park. And then who doesn't love a master plan? So we're gonna do that for Post, and I mentioned that as part of the maintenance plan that we have the foundation for. So those are the big ticket items of the moment.
All right.
Happy to take your questions.
Questions or comments do y'all have?
I think it's great to make the ADA playground accessible to everybody.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Generally, just really the work coming out of those committees is fantastic, and it's always moving forward, and it's really, really good to see, especially that they're citizen committees, and that's kind of really what pushes everything. So super cool.
Yeah, I think that asset management is a key to the case, as far as future spending and so on, and what the use of that money is. I think the shifting away from buying open space for access to the wilderness is kind of done around here. And I'm hopeful that there can be other means and methods to fund some of the other priorities through a a sharing plan. You know, you've got some public works line items up there, sort of, Triangle Park and things like that, so maybe we can start looking at how to blend those together to get more bang for the buck. Where's the playground equipment? What's your idea about repurposing that? Because I have somebody that was interested in it.
The playground equipment at Albany
Albany.
Park?
You said
So-
repurpose?
Yeah, we repurposed it to an individual who inquired
Oh,
earlier.
it's already gone?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
I think it's good to activate 2E once everything's done, and otherwise that's gonna be just kind of this hole. So, and the mini golf, I think it'd be cool, get some clubs and balls and some interesting river-themed holes, I don't know. Kind of fun.
Could be neat.
Will the wayfinding signage be in Spanish too? I don't have a sense of how many Basalt residents speak Spanish, but I imagine that would be.
Yeah, the information on there, it won't be, there may be an aspect to that. Mostly it's going to be names and then metrics, if you will. So 2.5 miles or pretty basic things that should be pretty universal. We have talked about making sure that the graphics on there are universal, so we're not, so everyone, it makes sense to everybody.
That's great.
Cool. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, my pleasure, and I'm sorry, all of the boards are great. This has been a very dedicated board, and I'm super appreciative for everybody that volunteers on it.
Yeah, we are too. Couldn't do it without them, so appreciate it. All right, well, thanks Mercedes, I see you're still on there. We're gonna take a break, grab some dinner, and we'll be back just after 6, I think, so, for our regular council meeting, so thanks a lot.
Good job, Michelle.
bologna meal. It's got a good.
Oh, what'd you have?
I had peanut club and only ate half of it. It's huge.
Have you ever had their black bean burger?
There's one in there. I haven't tried it yet though.
Their black bean burger is so good.
My wife likes the black bean burgers from Costco. And
Costco?
mhm.
Are they like Kirkland brand?
Yeah,
I've never had those.
yeah. And you know, it seemed to be real good quality. And one time when I grilled for the town, I got something cooked, and you know, Aaron Munch is a vegetarian, so he said they were good too. So
Costco has so many good things.
I know.
Good brands. My sheets are Costco. Have you ever felt the Costco sheets? The sheets on my bed?
No, I don't think so.
They're so nice. They're so nice.
High thread count, I guess, and everything.
Yeah, I know, but like sometimes like I'll get something with a high thread count. It doesn't feel like it. Those sheets are so good. I love them.
Hello.
Look, they can be bad when you go to a hotel. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I like a good.
Oh, me too. They're nice and cold.
And in the winter,
I don't really need it, but I am gonna drink this Diet Coke. Go, girl. Thanks for sending me that link.
and I'll sit behind you.
God, if somebody's gonna get sick, it's gonna be on a second or fourth Tuesday.
Hey, how's it going?
The way it
Started coming here, we had to wear masks and everything.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Yeah, I guess not.
How's it going, Angela?
It's good. It's good. I wanted to juggle the handoff,
Oh, good, yeah.
and I was about to leave my 3 children with a 10-year-old boy, and I was like, no. His mom's like, I'll help, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna zoom in for this part.
Yep.
But yeah, all's well.
She's excited to be back.
Yeah.
She's doing volleyball this year, so
She is. What grade is she in again? He's never, well, he's been to one field trip to Takah, and the rest of them have all been to Rock Bottom Ranch,
Oh, really?
like multiple times a year.
Yeah, spread his wings out a little bit, right?
I remember there was a time when I was in middle school, the way that like my regular school was, and then like the gifted and talented curriculum, I had to go to the Holocaust Museum like 3 or 4 times
Oh my gosh.
in like a
Oh, they
span
had
of
long
3
earlier,
years,
but it
and I
was
was
kind
like,
of loud.
a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Anderson like complains about going to Rock Bottom Ranch all the time. I'm like, at least it's a ranch.
Yeah, those are emotionally heavy.
Yeah, they have a big one in Houston. Where I'm
Yeah.
from.
Did the Anne Frank in Amsterdam, and it was incredibly powerful. It's just like you can't walk out emotionless, you know.
Right. Where are the kids rafting? Do you know?
I don't know. I've been super curious about that because we're gonna go on Monday. So.
I've never rafted.
Oh really? Yeah. This time of year, it's kind of just a float.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like. I remember I did last year. I did the fork at this time in my ducky, and it's one of those to where you put your hand out and kind of push it back up, right? You know.
I'm not brave enough.
So. But it's not for everybody sometimes.
I like watching them go by. I
Well,
like to wave.
yeah.
Like, good for you.
Everybody in the boat? Good. That's the way it's supposed to
Everybody always looks like they're having so much fun.
go.
Should I talk for another hour? And I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You did it. You did it. Blah, blah, blah. Poor James has to hear it all day long.
You know what's interesting about the composting is we did Western Mountain Recycle and when they had the program, they stopped. And we just stopped too, but now we're just like, okay, well, let's, I mean, it's $22 a month, let's get going with Evergreens or whatever, and they come on. It's not like we're the only one. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Popular on my street.
Oh.
The composting.
Yeah, I just feel like you're either doing it or you're not, and I'd spend more money guilting people into it.
Well, really, to our
Big part.
green team grappled with, well, should we subsidize individuals? And Evergreen said, you guys have a really large number, and Doug wouldn't know that number because he's actually the competitor. So I think he might have just subconsciously undersold it. But basically, all of Stotts Mill, they have an incredible rate over there, like over 50% are composting. Your neighborhood, everybody's composting. Your neighborhood, everybody's composting. And so that's why she's just said, it's not worth it to pay for 3 months for these people. They're already doing it. Where it's a challenge is for the multifamily and then these other, people who are just either on the cusp or whatever else. So for really nothing, for like $5,000, we can have a community site. The leaf drop is already so popular.
Oh man.
And so people really use that. So having kind of a central zone for people who currently might not, it'll kind of teach them. Like the recycling thing is so popular. One of the things, Mitzi brought it from Aspen. They give away the composting containers. They're these, of course they're Aspen, right? So it's these beautiful stainless steel countertop sized things. You're like, you want one even if you don't compost, like they're just nice.
Yeah.
So she looked them up, they're $20 a thing. I'm like, so we get 100. What a thing. It's gonna get you going, like,
I'm okay, but
Have you seen that thing that it sits on your countertop and it makes the compost for you? So cool.
yeah.
That's pretty neat in the future. I stopped using my countertop one. I just have my bucket in the pantry and
okay. Hey, when you
Are
do
we
your
on?
budget supplemental, do you want that memo to come up?
Okay, we're on.
You do your budget supplemental?
All right, welcome everybody. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order here. Sorry for being a little delayed. We had some technical difficulties earlier, and so the work session ran a little over. But here we are. Just as a reminder before we do roll call, if you want to join via Zoom to do public comments and things like that, you can go to basalt.net, click on the Agendas and Minutes tab, and then you can find the August 27th meeting. And then on there, you'll see instructions in the front of the packet on how to access via Zoom. So if you're interested in that, that is there. So I will go ahead and ask Pam to please call the roll.
Absolutely. Let us begin with Rick Stevens.
Here.
Anna Berman.
Here.
Angèle Dupré-Bouchard.
Here.
Ryan Slack.
Here.
David Knight.
Here.
Dieter Schindler.
Here.
Angela Anderson.
Here.
The A-team is present, sir.
Thank you. Next up is item number 2, the consent agenda. Item 2A, the minutes from August 13, 2024. Item 2B, continue public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 12, series of 2024 to September 24th, 2024. An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving special review, site plan review, mixed-use parking reduction, and PUD amendment at 298 Park Avenue to convert 3-bedroom units to 6 one-bedroom units at 298 Park Avenue. And last 2C, special event activity permit, Motors at Willets Fall event. If anybody wants to pull any of those off or discuss, we can do that. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please
Aye.
signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, next up, call to the public. Just a reminder, there is a sign-up sheet in the back for those making public comments. And any public hearings we have tonight, I just ask if you're going to comment on those topics, that you wait until those public hearings. Otherwise, please limit comments now to 3 minutes. Address your comments directly to me. Identify yourself by name and address. And comments should always be courteous, civil, and constructive. And we will make no decision or take action except to direct the town manager. So with that, I will open it up to public comments. Looks like nobody in the room. Anybody online?
If you'd like to make public comments at this point, if you could please raise your hand online.
All right, sounds like we don't have anybody, so we will move on to mayor and council reports and comments. You all have. I don't have anything either, so we can keep catching up. I'm totally good with that. Manager's report, Ryan, what do you have?
Just 2 quick things. Michelle made mention of it in her presentation earlier for post, but for sake of public's information, the parking lot at Albany Park will close on September 3rd. We'll need to just use that area for staging. We're going to just say that it'll be closed for the rest of the month, and be happily, surprised if we're able to get it open or partially open earlier than that. But the playground should be finished after that, after September. And then the second...
Street parking is still, though, an option for people who want to go to the...
Yeah, if you want to go to Albany Park, you could access it from the middle school, and street parking back in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah. And then secondly, this Wednesday is our last concert of the summer, so just inviting the whole community out to come out and celebrate the last concert of a second very successful concert summer. So thanks to Michelle and her crew for that.
Weather's supposed to be beautiful, yeah.
Incredible tomorrow, yeah.
Awesome.
Well, there'll be one more Friday concert in Willets
Oh, yeah.
the next week, but the last one at the River Park.
Yep.
Cool, thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
All right, next up, we have presentations. So item 6A, Midland Avenue Streetscape Project Update, and that's with Catherine and Joe from Wember.
Stepped in a pothole.
Joe, you got your own name tag?
Look, you got a name tag.
Now you can't leave.
Official now.
Welcome.
Well, thanks, Council, for having us this evening. Just as a reminder, this is just our monthly second meeting in the month where we update you on the Midland Streetscape project, and Joe is here to summarize where we are.
Cool. Guys, you probably saw in the agenda packet I put together that big milestone. Got some paving on the north side of Midland. Going to be more concrete placement this week, the following week, the week after that, and then we'll actually be paving the south side the week of September 16th. So then that whole thing is going to be open. Obviously going to be some more lane closures, traffic control, that type of stuff to keep everything in good order. But it's just a milestone worth celebrating. Landscape's going good. Getting pretty good feedback from most constituents, and I'm very pleased with the workmanship and just progress in general. I think it's a great project. That's it, short and sweet.
Yeah, and I might just add that our police department was kind enough to take some drone photos after we opened the north side last week, and those were included in the packet. Also posted a couple pictures up here so people can see the progress that's being made, but I think those north side businesses were happy to have that open and see how that new parking is working, and it seems to be going well. So we're here to answer any questions you all might have at the moment.
iPad's 9, so as far as budget though, if I recall, we're in good shape there. We haven't dipped into contingency and on track. And then schedule, looks like the major phases, we're still kind of in the groove there. Going to finish, which one we call the area we're in now?
Zone 2.
Zone 2.
Yep.
And when's that all supposed to wrap?
So I think later this month, or later in September, we'll pave that south side, and we'll continue that pattern where we then flip to the north. And the next north phase will be from the art base basically to the church driveway. And that will, be the start of the next Zone 3 phase, and then it'll switch back down to the south. So they'll keep plugging away into the fall.
Are we doing anything with the retaining wall up by the church with this, or is that separate?
No, not at this point. That was one of the items that was VE'd. So we'll maintain, that will just be maintained. At this point, that end of the street has been pretty beat up between the water line and other things. So ultimately that will be repaved and the valley pans will be replaced. But as far as the retaining wall itself, we'll make sure we have adequate ADA connection to kind of to where the church entry is, but otherwise we'll leave that as it stands.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask you, what do you think the biggest challenge is coming up in the next couple of phases as far as moving traffic around and so on when you get up towards Riverside?
I mean,
It's gonna be one lane and...
yeah, I mean, it's not going to be all that dissimilar from what we've experienced. I think, I don't see anything new on the surface level. You never know what you might find underneath. But yeah, as far as what we might expect, I don't think it should be dissimilar from what we've just experienced in this Zone 2.
Yeah, I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so I came back today, I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, honestly, Richard, I think it's going to be easier.
Go somewhere else and come back, and it's pretty...
Moving forward, I think the single lane is going to be easier just because we're mitigating, this intersection is kind of crux, right here, because you have left-hand turn, you have some other businesses, and now it's just one for one. It'll be way easier to manage it with stoplights too, so.
People are practicing their parallel parking from both directions.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It looks good. You can really see kind of the layout with the islands now and the center, so it's nice to see that live, and the drone shots are good. So thanks for.
Can you remind me of the timeline? So we're obviously mid-September moving into phase 3 or into September. And then what's the projected timeline for phase 3 completion?
I mean, we think the overall project is planned to go through the end of the year. So I think the next phase will be well into the fall, and it's always planned to go, into winter, into the early winter season. So I think we're still on track for that. As we get closer, we can refine that for you all, but I think we're on schedule and neither ahead or behind at this point.
Yeah, I think an easy way to think about it is when you're doing north versus south, like every phase, if you want to call it like 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, like to prep, concrete, pave, then you're switching, then you're switching, then you're switching. And that's not a set in stone date, but 3 to 3.5 weeks per lane per phase has been kind of what we've experienced, generally speaking.
I know we've talked about the asphalt plans for the some other projects. Do we have any dependencies there as far as that we have to, finish paving by X date in order to have asphalt, anything like that?
Yeah, the asphalt plants typically close in late October, so if we're running up against that, we may have to pivot a little bit on some temporary applications through the winter. We could do, there's still asphalt available in Junction, that's not ideal, but that could bring up at least a temporary condition that we could come back to in the spring, but we're still in August. I hate to get too ahead of ourselves here. I think we need to give our team the chance to succeed and get as far as they can through the fall, and then we'll be back in front of you if we need to talk about any of these contingency plans. But this is the reason why we came to the project, which $1 million in contingency. We have funds available to help us through, what may come up, and I don't think we're in a position with a lot of risk with that. We'll address it when we go forward. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think it's so exciting to really see it,
Feel it
all
now.
coming together, and you can really feel, even when you had the knuckle done, it didn't quite feel real, but now with that north side done, and so well done.
Yeah, great work. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Right. So we will move into council actions. So next item up is 7A, Resolution Number 33, Series of 2024. A resolution of the Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, approving a contract for design and entitlement services for an affordable housing and community space development at Sopers Meadows Parcel 2E. Catherine Michelle.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Tonight we're bringing to you a contract for planning, design, and engineering services to design and secure entitlements for the affordable housing development of the community space, which is going to be located on Sopers Meadows Parcel 2E. And that parcel is just south of Lewis Lane in Willits, and James just brought up the map before you. The town received 10 proposals from well-qualified teams on that due date of July 15th, and the selection committee reviewed the proposals based on the criteria outlined in the RFP. 4 top teams were shortlisted for an interview, and after the interview, our selection committee reached back out to those top 3 teams with some clarifying questions. And once those responses were received, we selected a top team. And I just wanted to mention that of the top 3 teams, the team with the lowest bid did not account for a required step in the land use process. And then another team had a price that just was too high to justify moving forward since we had such well-qualified teams applying. Therefore, town staff is making the recommendation to move forward with a team of Charles Cunniff Architects in partnership with Design Workshop. Their team brings a real depth of municipal project experience, including, affordable housing and a clear understanding of the entitlement process. They also have outlined a clear and comprehensive community outreach program. And tonight, both Rich and Ashley are here from Charles Cunniff Architects. Bless you. And I'd love for have them say a few words about their team and their approach to the project.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Rich Papsek from Charles Cunniff Architects. Jessica Garrow from Design Workshop couldn't be here tonight. She had a previous engagement. She wanted to extend her excitement about the project. We're really excited about doing the project. I think all of our team members live and work in Basalt, so that's like key for us. We love that idea. Play in Basalt too. So we have a lot of history here already. One of the things we like about the project is getting to work with you all. I think one of the issues that we discussed was just the excitement about working with somebody that was looking to actually move something forward, and I think we're going to have some really good discussions about what the town needs from both an affordable housing perspective, but also from the community space perspective. And I think that's something that we'll get into eventually. But I think we're really excited, and the site itself looks like it has some really good opportunities for us between residential and commercial, and how we bring all that stuff together with this combination of items for the project. Yeah. Anything else?
Hi, Ashley Satterfield with Charles County Architects. As a resident of Basalt, I truly see the need for this project, so it's really exciting to be working on it.
So that's it. We just have this contract before you. It is for $363,000 and is drafted with Resolution 33, and we're happy to answer any questions you all have.
I have one question. I know when we were brainstorming about this before, I know we said, community space. Is rec center totally dead? Can that be rolled into community space? Can we still keep thinking of that?
Yep.
Don't wanna just I feel once you say community space, to me, it's more like just one room, but just throwing that back out there on the table, it's a big demand. I hear from a lot of parents.
So that was a clarifying question we had with all of the teams that we interviewed. Would you be open to helping us work through whether it's a daycare, whether it's a rec center space, whether it's a flexible community space or arts or something else that we don't know about, and making sure that the community was heard on what the main driver is there and helping us do some research on making that decision. And Rich and Ashley were awesome, and Jessica has a really amazing presentation about making informed decisions and going through that, so it's still on the table.
And then I know on the Child Care Coalition, we talked about that lot ad nauseum and had plans, and I know that we did do some soil samples and so I would hope that we can dig those up, or we have those as the town to make sure that we can pass those along so that we're not redoing work that we've already done. I don't know if they can go away in a certain time period, but I know we did a bunch of
We'll be
preliminary work, so.
We'll certainly be putting all the previous work forward as a resource.
Go ahead.
When's the delivery? I was looking to see if there was an end date for delivery of all the product here in the contract.
So it's really a long land use code process, right? So we have to go through sketch plan and preliminary plan and
But
final plan.
what time do you think you'll enter sketch plan? Is it 6 months, 9 months, a year?
Hopefully 6 months.
6
We
months.
want to make sure we give enough time to the public outreach without it slowing the project down, so 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and public can still participate
Right.
as it goes forward. So and
Yes.
that's usually when they get warmed up, is about the end of preliminary plat. The other question I had was,
They'll come out.
yeah, enforced. Well, it's been on the burner for a while. The other question I had was, it's a town-owned property, so I'm assuming that land cost is 0. And that's an opportunity we haven't had, and I don't know if the scope includes, or if if planning's looking at the public-private partnership with a piece of land as a grant. Because one of the things we've been hearing is that banks are hesitant to finance public-private, from the gentleman that was here the other night on the other side of the river, because of the risk. And I don't see that risk profile being present in a project like this. If the land's granted and the list is long for occupants and whatever it ends up being, I'm just wondering if we can figure out how to tweak the banks to get them to support this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the schedule on this project is based on getting the entitlements so that we have something to get the funding to. We anticipate having some level of a project cost to be able to go out and apply for grants for. We know that throughout the state there's a lot of money for affordable housing, but unless you have the entitlements in place, your bid is not competitive to get money.
No, I'm talking about capital the developer borrows to do this project with the town.
Yeah, that as well. And so we'll be working behind the scenes and working through some workshops.
Package can go to the grant process and then go to the private sector for financing.
Yeah.
Cool.
To go back to public outreach real quick, I'm sure that this is considered, but the homes and Willets that envelop this lot, I would like to just note, in case it hasn't already been noted, that we should do direct outreach to them. Otherwise, if they don't read the website, or
Yeah, that's absolutely
they're
planned.
gonna wanna know what's going on there.
Absolutely planned.
Yeah.
In a similar manner that we're doing on the parcel 9 near the rugby field.
You send the mailers out to all those people, like,
Yeah, we're doing more than mailers, so we'll be developing the details of that, but there'll be a lot of direct contact.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be interesting how this plays out. You know, this was envisioned for childcare at one point, and since then, affordable housing has become, you know, a huge issue, arguably the biggest issue. And it'll be interesting to see what the public comes back with, but I still think to some extent, we need to have some element of youth service, a youth benefit here somehow. So I'm just curious what you guys come up with as part of that process, because I think that's something people have been clamoring for a long time, especially the like youth center and that whole concept.
Yep. Crown Mountain's in the process now with a PUD from Eagle County where they're looking at a facility as well. So maybe a little cross-pollination there would be good, so we don't double down.
I think it'll be a great opportunity to study what is available in the community and understand where the gaps are and strive to fill that one of those gaps, or maybe it'll be twofold, we'll see. But that is a goal of the project, to try to hone in on where those gaps are.
Yeah, and that information's in that Project Play report that the Institute did from Aspen to Parachute, identified all the gaps at every age level in every activity. It was interesting what they came up with. So fencing was apparently very popular. But anyhow, who knew?
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Yes.
I just want to say I'm excited about the prospect of a community space. And today, as I was like driving kids to doctor's appointments, I was listening to NPR. I definitely didn't catch the whole thing, but
See, one sec. Hey, guys in the back, just if you could just hold it outside, guys. Thanks.
they were talking about, you know, downtowns, and I realized through listening to this guy that he was saying that if you have a vibrant main street in your town, it's like a luxury. So, and that's a community space that we're about to have, which is so exciting. And he was also talking about how you can correlate in towns where there's no public spaces. There are all these other stressors that occur. And I think like we have so many beautiful outdoor spaces here, and we're about to have this beautiful main street as a community space. But you know, there are times of the year that people want to gather, you know, inside, and yes, you know, the youth, you know, need a place to be. And I'm very excited for the possibility of that. Thank you.
It's also a great spot for transit-connected housing. We Cycle had told the Hub, the employee housing a block or two over, that it was the third most used station after City Market and the bus stop. So it's a good spot to put folks.
And now that we will have the Willits Lane plan in place, we'll be able to make sure that that connection is there too. So.
All right, any other comments? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt resolution number 33, series of 2024.
Second. You got it.
Family feud. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Well, thanks a lot. We're excited to embark on this journey with you guys. So.
Yeah. We'll see you soon.
I just remembered one fun factoid for you. The town did get that $200,000 grant from Housing Now from the state to help pay for this effort. So there's just one more level of momentum behind it to get it going.
I saw that in the paper. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Good start. Thanks, guys. Rich, you play tennis now?
No.
Too late.
Too late.
All right, next item up, 7B, public hearing and first reading ordinance number 13, series of 2024, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Basalt, Colorado, granting an extension of vested rights for the site plan approval, Southside floodplain reach 2 ESA review approval, community housing review approval, and a license agreement for an automated car wash located at 115 Southside Drive, Lot 1 of the Basalt Business Center, West Subdivision, Basalt, Colorado. And James.
Thank
you're
you.
up.
We do have the applicants here this evening. We've got John Belkin and Mitch Haas representing the applicant group. This is a public hearing and first reading of an ordinance that would approve of a request by the Von Ruin Group for a one-year extension of vested rights on the automated car wash at 115 Southside Drive that was approved pursuant to ordinance number 13, series of 2020. As background, in 2020, the applicant received approval for a one-story single bay automated car wash on the vacant property, which is at 115 Southside Drive. It's on the corner of Southside Drive and Cody Lane, as you can see here. In conjunction with the car wash, the applicant was going to dedicate land, part of the property, as right-of-way to the town, so that there could be head-in parking constructed on Southside Drive to help organize the parking in the area for the auto-oriented uses. The additional right-of-way would also permit the needed space for the Southside underpass, vehicular underpass, that has been identified as an ultimate transportation related solution in the south side. In 2023, the applicant received a one-year extension of vested rights on the property. The applicant provided a letter that's in your packet indicating the original delay in constructing the car wash was due to supply chain issues and COVID. And they've also had some challenges with inflation and interest rates increasing, but they can speak to those reasons as part of their comments. In reviewing the extension request, staff notes that the primary community benefits, as I identified, are the town receiving the additional right-of-way land to allow for the construction of the head-in parking, to better organize the parking in the area, which has been an issue for quite some time, given that we've got several auto-oriented uses across Southside Drive from this parcel. And then, as I noted, the additional right-of-way allows for the room that would be needed for the construction of the Southside underpass in the future. There have not been significant land use code changes since the approvals were granted. There have been changes to the building codes, the sustainable building regulations, as well as the energy code. Also, the fees have changed since the original approvals. So the draft ordinance that you have in your packet for consideration requires compliance with these updated codes as well as the updated fees. So this evening, staff would recommend that you take comments from the applicants. You take public comments because it is a public hearing, and then provide council discussion. And if you're comfortable, you could approve the ordinance on first reading. So I'll stop sharing my screen here. John and Mitch, do you have some comments for the council?
Sure. Thank you, James. Hi, I'm Mitch Haas with John Belkin, who's the applicant. I'm helping him out, representing for these hearings. So, as James mentioned, this project, the approvals are still valid. The vested rights are coming up. They were coming up last year. I don't know, for anyone who needs a quick 101 refresher, vested rights essentially merely protect the approvals from changes in the code that may have been adopted since the approval was granted. As is written in this recommended motion or resolution from James, this vested rights extension would not exempt this project from the sustainable building code, the changes in any employee housing fees, things that are near and dear to the town council's heart. So really what this is doing is just enabling the applicant, the ownership, to rely on the approval for another year.
We were here last year. The town council granted us a 1-year extension. We were asking for 3 years, with the logic at the time being nothing in the code has changed since the time the approval was granted. Rather than ask for vested rights, we could resubmit the whole same application and there would be no reason for the town to deny it because it's all the same codes in place. The project remains consistent with the zoning, remains fully consistent with the master plan. And a new approval, if we went back through the whole process, would bring 3 years of vested rights. The town council wasn't so comfortable with 3 years, so the direction to us was take 1 year, and if you need it in another year, come back and ask for another year. So here we are, back asking for another year. The past year, interest rates haven't moved much, haven't been very conducive to financing options. We're hoping that changes, as well as just general atmosphere for development and costs of construction, whatnot. But our thinking right now is we'd like 1 more year of vested rights extension. And again, not asking to be exempt from changes in the code to things like employee housing fees and sustainable development codes, et cetera. So hopefully a pretty straightforward request, but of course, happy to answer questions if need be.
Thanks. Good to see you guys again. It seems like it wasn't that long ago. I guess it's been a year.
Did go quickly.
My kids are a year older.
James, if you could remind everybody too, I can't remember if it was in the packet or not, but the intent is to rent those parking spaces, correct?
Yeah, the intent is, once the town receives the right-of-way and the parking spaces are constructed, that we would rent it back to the auto-oriented businesses over in Southside. When the original approvals went through, there was considerable interest from those businesses about renting the spaces.
Just so folks know that right now, we're just letting the folks park on the property gratuitously.
I was
We're
wondering
not
about
charging,
that.
we're not charging for any parking.
Okay.
So, free of charge. Park there if you want. And we even gravelled it.
All right. Questions or comments for the applicants? For James?
I was at the climate summit in Aspen last week, and Colorado's head of their energy office was there and said we had one of the highest EV adoption rates, and that it far beat their expectation. And I was wondering if this is a spot where there's kind of lines where we could lay EV chargers in or create some infrastructure for that, or not so much.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
In the parking areas?
Like, are there options for the town parking to have EV charging?
Well, if the development proceeds and we go to building permit, the land is the town's at that point to do with as you please, yeah. There is electricity there.
There would be that potential. We'd have to kind of study the electric infrastructure over there, but I'm sure it probably could work.
I think also that area is, the town is interested in because of the bypass under the road too, right?
Sure.
So that maybe putting that there that's up to you guys. I mean, not.
Is that, I'm just curious, sorry, maybe this is a question for, I don't know who, is that still an applicable, realistic solution? Yeah.
Yes, it's on a long-term plan with CDOT, and something that could happen in the future. We don't see it in the immediate future. I think James maybe attended a meeting not too long ago. It's like, is that a 20-year plan, or is that?
It's a 10-year plan. However, there are prioritized projects with CDOT. We don't have it in the priority projects. It's on the plan, so it took us some years to get it on the plan. It just really depends on how much money becomes available through the state.
And last time we looked at it was 24 million, what was it?
Yeah, it was 20 plus.
Something along those lines.
24 million to pull it off, and
Well, it was the #1 priority for the town with the 94 master plan and the 99 master plan, and it was $9 million.
Well, I mean,
It was,
regardless, it's 24 now, it's low on the list,
I think it's top, I think it's a priority for the community. It's definitely the connection that we're missing, and it was studied. We had a $3 million engineering grant. Ice-T was created at the time, Nick Ireland. I mean, it's a real project, and I think it should be on the books until we can make it happen, because it would be brilliant, in my opinion. That's why the post office is where it is, that's why the library is where it is. The river master plan's changed a little bit, but that was gonna convey floodwaters from the south side back to the river, was the other intent of that. And it was pedestrian and vehicle. So I think unfortunately, it got booted by a vote of the council, but it was, we had a room full of people, Corps of Engineers, Ice-T, State of Colorado, everybody, and 2 elected officials came in and said, we want to put a roundabout in the middle of 82, and those guys just left the room. So, I mean, it was a viable, doable deal, and I'm happy to see that you guys are allowing for that potential. The rent from those parking spaces could fund some EV chargers. I don't know what we do with that money, but it could. I don't know what a parking space is worth, but in Aspen, it's about $7,000 a day or something. But yeah, I think that, gotta keep that on the long term.
I guess one other relative question is, didn't we just run through a study talking about volume in and out of that intersection there, and that it could support more volume, possibly the volume of build out of that space?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically that study said that if we did a roundabout at the Cody Lane Basalt Avenue intersection, then we could get rid of the split phase, which would increase the capacity at that intersection. But that was, I think, kind of seen as a first step, and then, as Rick noted, we did have it in our master plan.
The other significant change is the glacier and Extora Grange branches, are not Glacier, but Cerise and Grange have been purchased, and they were on the boundary of the UGB, where there's a 3-mile plan to go into those 2 areas at some minimum amount, but that's why the street's all dead end over there. But that doesn't exist anymore. So if we go with a high density program over there, we could end up having the same square footage on Southside Drive that we thought we were going to have with a tiered urban growth boundary. So that's the question I have, how that happened.
I guess I'm just
years down the road.
Just curious, in 2024, we've, kind of kept searching for alternates there, and I will vote to extend for another year. But what was asked for in 2020 is different than 2010, and now different than 2024. This program is the same, and I'm fine with that. I just, at one point in time, do we go 2 more years, approve 2 other car washes, and then is there a need for this? This is benefit to community as much as it did in 2020, and feel like the further we get down the road, my questioning is maybe not, as we find out other information about access to that neighborhood. So that's all. But as far as tonight's vote, I'm in favor of going another year for sure, but I do have that question hanging out in the back of my mind and wanted to make it known.
I did vote against it in 2020, but I think, I'm fine with extending vested rights for another year.
Sure.
I think we can always put those big projects in the parking lot, no pun intended, but kind of, I guess, intended. But we also are solving a parking problem over there with all of that, Big O and all the other auto people.
Yeah, for sure.
That are over there. So there's, in the little revenue streams, there's a benefit. And I guess my question for you guys would be, what's going on with the car wash supply chain industry? I mean, we know what's going on in the macro. Is it better?
Yeah, but I think, if you watch the economics and the election and everything, you know that, and you know how businesses are doing right now in the valley. We live in Basalt over in Woods. My wife owns a sort of a party where they support parties and I can't, it's like a balloon business. You've probably seen it around, and it's absolutely dead right now. So just to give you an idea, and we can't really figure out why, but you know, I mean, it's a question. It's a temperamental environment right now. You know, and interest rates are still pretty high. This is a $9 million project. So it's just been an interesting ride. Went through a pandemic and came out, and everything went crazy. And then, you know, real estate values doubled, tripled here in some cases, and now it's seeming to be starting to settle down. So there's probably a pretty good shot that we started during this period. I do want to point out just a couple things because I worked really well with your staff through this whole process. This property is zoned for this use. I think I don't want to misstate this though, James. The reason that we go through this process, I think, for council was because it was in the floodplain. That was an important component
part of
this.
it.
Important component of this. So that property's got flood challenges, and so a car wash is a natural use for a car wash. I mean, or for that. I mean, if you had the flood, we could just literally open the doors. The flood could go right through the building, which is really true. Anyway, Sopers Engineering spent a lot of time and energy on designing the property with something they call the zero rise analysis. So it's designed to withstand the flood, basically. So also one other thing I'd like to point out is we are contributing to the roundabout. It's part of our fee collection. We're adding to the redesign of what's proposed to be potentially a roundabout there on right at the light. Also, part of this too was, I don't know if James, if you can bring up the site plan. Sure. But it's important to recognize that the parking, we're conveying part of that property to the town for the parking. And that's also to eliminate what we think is a pretty significant traffic and parking problem on Cody Lane. So right now the cars park all along Cody. You drive by, you see it. Under this, you're going to eliminate all that parking, and it's all going to be tow in there. You know, we're on the, I guess it's the north side, so or west.
Or west.
Yeah, west. Yeah, I always think about north. Yeah, and hopefully the interest rates work a little bit better for us this year, and we get started. Just so you know, things have happened since we designed it. You know, we went through the process. Water and sanitation. The equipment we'll be putting in it now will be even better in terms of recycling water. Things have improved considerably in that. Yeah, I mean, the project will be first in class for sure. We won't have anything in this valley like it. So,
You guys think you'd ever, I mean, this is, you probably thought about it, but like level 3 charging in the zone where the vacuuming and all that is.
car charging?
Car charging?
Yeah, so the thing about this is if you really think about it, it's interesting. There will never be cars parked at this site. So like
vacuuming and shampooing and stuff, because you're going to get some amount of time and then it could be, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how long, I'd have to study how long the cars will spend there.
Yeah.
But I suspect they will usually be there less than 10 minutes. And the way that it's designed is that the cars should move based on our population set and the cars that are traveling. It's all, you know, an equation basically.
Yeah.
The cars should move through very quickly, and there'll be no cars parked and very few employees. It's largely automated.
I mean, I'd say we haven't studied it, but certainly not precluding it either.
It might not be that much time. I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah. It seems like when I wait for my car, it takes forever.
Yeah.
But.
I only plug mine in my garage overnight, so I don't even know.
And people may remember this too.
Tesla zip right through.
Go ahead, say, Anna, what were you saying?
I would say like fast charging can take under 10 minutes to get a good 80% of an average battery as they stand.
Maybe with Tesla.
Level 3s are fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with a level 2, but certainly with a level 3.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is we don't want to encourage people to stay there. It's not a place to spend time. To charge your car, it's I think there's probably better places to charge their car than at this car wash, just because we're hoping to move people in and out of there in basically less than 15 minutes from top to tail. But I just want to point out one other thing. You may have seen years ago, we fenced it off and we started We actually spent about $60,000, cut the trees down, a number of the town's trees that were in there, paid for that. We also, to clean up the neighboring property, sort of where James's cursor is, we also piped the ditch that runs through there. There's no water right in that ditch, but we cased it because we had planned on starting. We realized that we weren't going to be able to get equipment at that time. We weren't sure how long that was going to take. That's why the fence then went down. And you can see the pile of dirt that's there. That's the overburden from the ditch. And once the ditch, once we start construction, it'll be all fill on the property. We don't want to remove it because it'll cost about $40,000 to remove. So that's why you'll see the pile there. Another reason for allowing the parking there is it's helping with weed mitigation right now on the property. That property went from the Ski Co owned it, not necessarily from us. It's all, it had a lot of thistle in it, so this has helped a lot with that. So,
No, good. Those are good reminders.
Piping the ditch was really helped. Actually, is helping the folks water the grass. That's some of that grass actually that gets mowed is actually, I think, is in the town right away.
Yeah, the right of way,
So
yeah.
I think it's the towns, but the HOA is paying to cut it. So, you know, it just, the architecture of this was approved by the HOA too. So, yep.
Thanks for all that.
Yeah.
Catching us up on that biz. So
I can assure you, we want to build it more than
I know,
anyone
I'm
else.
sure you
I think people will like it too.
maybe next year's economy will be better.
Hopefully, yeah. And the spring is a good time to start, not the fall.
What would be the time frame of if you did break ground? Is it-
Spring. Yeah.
What would be the time frame of you break ground in spring? Is it a year?
Slow is
project?
8
The
months.
construction build out?
Yeah, slow is probably 8-9 months. Really fast is 6. So it's pretty quick. I mean, it's an erector set. And the key is the concrete. The concrete has to be poured very precise because you're just dumping the equipment in there. There's not a lot to it, actually.
And how, it's none of my business, but how much do you need the rates to come down to make it pencil out? Like, are you gonna come back in another year because
Possible.
It's
like,
it's possible.
like the rate environment isn't great, and so I just.
I don't, it's like, I don't know how to underwrite the things we've seen in the economy. It's hard to say. That's why I said there's nobody that would like to start this more than I.
Sure.
I
can
mean,
tell you.
the hope is the Fed's lower rates and then commercial lending follows not too long after. And then everybody seems to think residential will be phased so that so the banks don't get flooded with everybody wanting to refinance at one time.
So candidly, the right time to start was when the rates were 3.78, but the problem then is we couldn't get equipment. It took a year to wait, so you'd have about $6 million in the dirt in construction sitting there waiting on equipment that could take a year to come.
Yeah.
So if you see that just the stars haven't aligned, but I'm confident eventually they will, and we'll see it, and it'll be pretty cool.
And the supply chain issues are not what they were, but the financing hasn't caught up.
I feel like this project makes a lot of sense where it is, right? Because of the floodplain and because of the nature of the project and the way water can flow through it, because of the land that's being given to the town in case we ever do get this underpass going, because it's already kind of commercial zone with a lot of automobile-related businesses, it seems to me like a really natural fit. So I certainly am in favor of giving you a year or more to figure it out, because to me, this business in that place makes a lot of sense.
I don't want to pick on Texas. I don't have problems with Texans, but I'm not from Texas. I'm from Basalt.
I am.
I'm a local. I'm not picking on Texas. But my point is, I just picked the place. I'm actually one of your neighbors.
I've seen you over there.
Basalt too. What's that? Not that matters, but
If the council's inclined to give us more than a year, we certainly won't argue,
Yeah,
but, we'll take what we can get. Last year, it was made a year from the date the approval was finally granted.
I did, this project's grown on me over the years, the last 4 years hearing about it, but I do need to do a public hearing. I've neglected to do that earlier, so I will open up the public hearing for anyone who has comments. Anybody online?
If you're online and would like to make comments on this application, if you could please raise your hand on the Zoom call.
Looks like a negative, so I will close the public hearing and I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 13, series of 2024 on first reading and continue and set the public hearing and second reading for September 10th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Let us begin with Angèle Dupré-Bouchard.
Here. Yes.
Yes. David Knight,
Yes.
Dieter Schindler,
Yes.
Hannah Berman,
Yes.
Angela Anderson,
Yes.
Rick Stevens,
Yep.
and Ryan Slack.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in a
Thanks,
couple of
guys.
weeks.
Thank you, yes.
Appreciate how you do.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have item 7C, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 14, series of 2024, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, granting amendments to the declaration of covenants related to the category affordable housing units and real estate transfer assessment for the multifamily portion of the Stotts Mill Development Parcel C and Lot 37, Block 4, Stotts Mill Subdivision, PUD, Basalt, Colorado. This is James and Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. This is first reading of an ordinance that would approve of amendments on the Stotts Mill covenants related to the affordable housing units on the multifamily portion of the Stotts Mill property, which is adjacent to Southside Drive, as well as their multifamily units on the daycare property on the corner of Centennial Lane, which is located right here. These changes to the covenants are being requested by MSP1 LLC in connection with their attempt to obtain a HUD loan on the property. As background, there were 64 multifamily dwelling units that were constructed by the applicant on the multifamily area as well as above the daycare. As part of those approvals, 19 were required to be deed restricted category level rental units. And all of the multifamily units are still owned by the developer. And as I noted, the applicant is trying to obtain a HUD loan on the multifamily process. And as part of the HUD loan process, HUD has requested a couple of changes to the covenants while the HUD loan is in existence on the property. Specifically, they requested that the Special Housing Evaluation Committee, which is a town staff committee for the most part, would allow for vacant category units in which a tenant could not be located within 30 days of it becoming vacant, would be able to permit a tenant of a higher category to rent the unit between 6 months and a year. And then once again, after 6 months or a year, I would go back to the category of tenant in which the unit is designated. And so this change that's requested by HUD is intended to ensure that the units stay occupied. It wouldn't change the rent amount, and staff notes that it really hasn't been a problem to find tenants for these units in the categories that they're designated, so staff isn't really concerned about this change. The other change that's requested is related to the real estate transfer assessment covenants, and it's an amendment that would require by HUD that in a foreclosure situation where HUD would take over the property, that the RETA would not apply to their sale of the property, and that a lien would be subordinate to HUD's loan in that circumstance. So as the units are rental units, the town would only lose the RETA in the HUD foreclosure process. Town Attorney Jeff Conklin has been working with the applicant's attorney. Jeff, do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
I'll add just a few things. James and I worked with the Lenders Council, the Banks Council, and the HUD's Council on this to kind of really narrow the scope of things that absolutely had to be included in a rider here to what's presented. We don't view these things as stumbling blocks for the town's goals with the project. As James said, with respect to the category units, it's really to ensure that there wouldn't be a long period of vacancy in the units, and based on the waiting list for category units, we don't anticipate that's ever going to be a problem. With respect to the lien, there's a lien subordination with, on the RETA. The RETA itself it's kind of this song and dance where it's subordinated, but in the event of foreclosure, there's a non-disturbance provision, so the RETA's not wiped out. But in the event there's a non-payment of a RETA, the lien we could assert for that would be junior to the HUD loan. It's not gonna happen, just because there would have to be a payoff of the HUD loan in order for there to be a sale, so I don't anticipate that a lien would ever happen. So we don't view these things as really problematic, and so it would allow it to go forward. As James said, these amendments are only during the term that a HUD loan would be on the property. Once it's released, they'd automatically terminate and be released from the property. And I think that covers it. I know applicants' attorney for the purpose of the HUD loans on Zoom. But I think that covers my comments. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, we do have the applicant's attorney, Jim Provenzale, on the call. Jim, do you have any additional comments you'd like to provide to the council?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. My name is Jim Provenzale. I'm an attorney in Des Moines, Iowa, representing the owner of Stotts Mill, and I think town staff explained our scenario fairly well. A couple things I would point out in addition to what's already been said. A couple of topics that have come up already on the council's agenda are affordable housing and interest rates. And this project is an affordable project, much needed in the town of Basalt, as I understand it. And as someone mentioned earlier, interest rates have not been friendly for commercial real estate finance. And one way to mitigate high interest rates is to lengthen the term of the mortgage. And that's where the HUD insured financing option becomes so attractive. As far as I'm aware, you can't find any source of funding that will last 35 years other than the HUD insured mortgage, which my client is on the verge of obtaining a firm commitment from HUD to get this HUD-backed loan. So the 35-year loan holds down debt service considerably, even with elevated interest rates, although interest rates are moving in the right direction. Yeah, we're anticipating locking an interest rate somewhere around 5.5%, which is lower than the current rate of 9%. And the combination of the lower rate and the long 35-year mortgage will result in about $800,000 in annual savings for this project. So it's really going to go a long way in ensuring the long-term success of this much-needed affordable workforce housing. The flip side is when you get a HUD-insured mortgage, you got to play by HUD's rules. It's a federal agency that's not known for being very flexible with its rules. So, Jeff, HUD Council, and I went back and forth on what HUD Council would accept, and we landed on these amendments to the town's restrictive covenants. They were carefully negotiated, and as Jeff said, there's subordination of any potential lien that the town may have, but it's really subordination without much teeth in the sense that if there were a foreclosure, normally under a foreclosure, any sort of subordinate or junior restrictive covenant gets wiped out, gets extinguished. That's not going to be the case in this with Stotts Mill. The subordination has what Jeff called non-disturbance language, so that if there is a foreclosure, the restrictive covenants of the town will be allowed to remain in place. So again, this is in furtherance of affordable workforce housing. It's a way to mitigate the challenging interest rate environment by lengthening the term of the mortgage, and in my view, it accomplishes the town's goals of promoting affordable housing without creating additional risk. That's all.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Let's do the public hearing first, unless Jeff, did you have something else? Go ahead and open the public hearing for anybody who would like to make comments. I don't see anyone in the room. I don't see anyone online except for Jim and Regan, so I will close the public hearing and open it up for questions and comments.
So if it got foreclosed on and HUD sold it, right, or someone bought it out of foreclosure, then would the RETA still apply? Or if it's only if HUD purchased it?
forecloses, it would not pay the RETA. When it's sold out, it would get paid.
Okay, so it doesn't,
That's the whole, it doesn't extinguish it, so there's no future.
yeah, it just doesn't have HUD paying it.
Correct.
They don't want to pay the penalty, the 1% penalty. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. Oh. Yeah. no.
Seems like they're
Yeah, I
making,
think as far as in terms of other changes that we've been requested of, this is a creative solution that doesn't ask us to change the number of units or the categories or with very little effect. So I certainly am in favor of it.
seems like it's making it more affordable and attainable
Yeah.
for the longer
And-
term.
And accessible for the
a good
developer
idea.
to complete it, so.
Yeah, bingo.
Well, it's complete.
Is there a,
It's complete. People live
is
there
there
now.
separate HOAs for the single family and the multifamily?
There are, yeah, and then there's a master HOA that combines both.
If it got foreclosed upon, would the affordable housing requirements still stand for
Yes.
new owners?
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 14, series of 2024 on first reading and continue and set the public hearing and second reading for September 10th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Let's begin with David Knight,
Yes.
Dieter Schindler,
Yes.
Hannah Berman,
Yes.
Angela Anderson,
Yes.
Rick Stevens,
Yep.
Angel Dupre-Bouchard,
Yes.
and Ryan Slack.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And next up, we have item 7D, first reading ordinance number 15, series of 2024, ordinance of the town council of the town of Basalt, Colorado, amending the 2024 budget and providing for a supplemental appropriation related to various revenues and expenditures. Good
Give it
friend
to us, Doug.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
I know, right? I know we're 20 minutes ahead of schedule, so I can.
That's not a lot more, a lot of time.
Don't take this
This
time.
is actually pretty benign in the way of an amendment. The net effect of all of this is just basically adding 13,000 to the kitty versus taking anything away. So in the actual, in your packet, there was a Excel summary of the various amendments. A lot of this was determined when we were doing our second quarter review, when we were running ahead of schedule on interest and building permits and whatnot. So I was basically harvesting some of that savings or windfall and using that to pay for some items that weren't budgeted when the budget was approved in December of 2023. Specifically, the biggest item of note is the Stotts Mills daycare. So we didn't have any idea. We had directional numbers on what that would cost. So on the back of the last page in your packet, there is just a little snap shot of the P&L of this project. So through various grants that Michelle was able to obtain, or her team, along with some money from Pitkin County, we were able to, EBCC is the employer-based child care from the state. There was $800,000 in the way of a grant. So go to the second page there. There we go. So we get $800,000 from the state for the construction of the daycare. And then Pitkin County initially put in $250,000 and then came back for $201,000. And a lot of that was ARPA money. So all of that, along with some money that the town was putting in, is for its contribution of $50,000. We also pulled some money from a restricted fund dedicated for daycare impact fund. So we were able to cobble together braided funding, if you will, an amount of $1,461,000. That was the funding. And then as the money was played out, there was a typo here, RAM, that should be R, simply R.A. Nelson, so that was my mistake in putting it together, but the contract was for $1,381. We're on pace for that. There were no change orders. We had some soft costs with Bryant May. Basalt Sanitation was a tap fee
for sanitation. We had our own permit fees, the town was assessing for the project, and then there were some pre-construction services. So you all add it all up, it was $1447, so we were to the good, $13,000. So none of this was in the budget. So right now it will be vis-a-vis this amendment. So that's really I mean, there are some other things in here that are, I think, pretty self-explanatory on the amendment itself. There were certain items that had exceeded budget, were exceeding budget. So I took a pretty good cut to this based on our second quarter review. And I think net at the end of the day, like I said, we're adding 13,000 to the coffer here. So probably make an argument that we don't need to do it at all, but we are taking money from the restricted funds, and we are giving back appropriation to the general fund by about 203,000. So.
And the cemetery bit was supposed to be in 23, and it happened.
Well, we had a $200,000 marker in there for 2022 for irrigation, and then we carried it to 2023. And we only had one person bid on the work, and it was like, I don't know, $350, it was something stupid. So we said, no, we're gonna look to Plan B. So we're repurposing those dollars in 2024 to other areas.
There was another project that we had hoped to do this year, but it didn't make its way into the budget, but it's for some drainage over on School Street. So we're gonna be using some of that money for that infrastructure.
And cemetery will be on
For next year.
next year.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at we're coming up with an alternative plan that can potentially pull water from our 1 million gallon tank, and with the addition of a solar booster pump that can help to irrigate that cemetery. And so we have the landscape architect working on an alternative design. So.
Gravity. We're thinking of originally contributed 250, then they came back with another 201.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They just did that out of the.
They had some money left over from the COVID money that we had all received, and so they repurposed some of that. And then I believe did some come from their general fund as well?
So in that original 250, 100 came from the general fund and 150 came from ARPA money. We had a slight design change midway through or early on in the project that added more classrooms and more bathrooms, and those increased the expense of the project. So we went back and asked if they could help us with that, and they were decided it was a priority and shared another 200 of ARPA.
Did they get more shares, more spots?
No, but they do have the number of spots that they have. We've extended it from 5 years priority to 10.
10 years priority. Meaning, what's that mean exactly?
So they decided that they needed, I think it was 11 spots, and they didn't want to have more spots than that to take up more space. I don't think they have a need for more. So rather than having the additional negotiation was for 5 years of priority, and they said, well, can we get something out of this gift?
So they got an
And
extra
so we
5
said,
years of 11 spots.
yeah.
Okay. Good deal for us.
Yeah, I think it's a great deal for everybody.
Yeah, good partners.
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 15, series of 2024 on first reading and set the second reading and public hearing for September 10th, 2024.
Second.
Wait, did you do the public hearing?
No public hearing for this reading. So it's been moved and seconded. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Happily, thank you. Let's begin with Dieter Schindler.
Yes.
Anna Berman.
Yes.
Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Rick Stevens.
Yep.
Angel Dupre-Bouchard.
Yes.
Ryan Slack.
Yes.
David Knight.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
What you meant to say was here.
Mayor, I move the town council enter executive session to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real property interest in accordance to CRS 24-6-402-4A, more specifically, potential property purchase for affordable housing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Here.
All right, so we are going to go into executive session, but we'll give Grassroots a chance to shut down, everybody to.
And when, at the conclusion of the exec session, the meeting will be adjourned. There's nothing else on the agenda, just for the record.
Are you going to turn that mini split on?
Good job, guys.
Mhm.